Hey everybody, today I want to take some time to break down Thomas Jefferson's 1802 letter to the Danbury Baptists, which is a key moment in U.S. history that helped define religious freedom and especially the phrase separation of church and state. And this letter, it continues to shape the debate on religious liberty in America today. So first things first, I want to set the scene here with what's going on. So Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence, was serving as third president of the United States in 1801. And the First Amendment was added to the Constitution in 1791 as part of the 10 Amendments in the Bill of Rights. And it guarantees religious freedom, and it states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The first portion is known as the Establishment Clause. The second portion is known as the Free Exercise Clause. However, the way that the First Amendment, this first part of the First Amendment was read, how this was applied practically was debated very early on in the early United States. And so, now let's go to, we've had the Thomas Jefferson side of things. Who were the Danbury Baptists? The Danbury Baptist Association was a group of Baptists in Connecticut, a state with a state-supported Congregationalist church. And Baptists faced discrimination and restrictions in Connecticut, including taxes to support the official church, the Congregationalists. And in October 1801, the Danbury Baptist Association wrote to President Jefferson expressing their concerns about religious liberty and also government overreach. So, got that laid out. Let's kind of talk about Thomas Jefferson and his views on religion. Thomas Jefferson was a strong advocate of religious freedom. He was influenced by the Enlightenment and thinkers like John Locke. Now, in 1777, going back in time a little bit, Jefferson authors a document called the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom, and it was finally passed in 1786. And this document de-established the Church of England in Virginia and guaranteed freedom of religion in the state of Virginia. Jefferson believed religion was a matter best left between individuals and their conscience, not government. Don't get the government involved here. So, let's get down to the letter. So on January 1st, 1802, Jefferson takes the time and he responds to the Danbury Baptists. And in the letter, there's this key phrase, and it's, I contemplate with sovereign reverence the act of the whole American people, which declared that their legislature should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Jefferson reassured the Danbury Baptists that the federal government would not interfere in religious matters. The federal government would not interfere when it came to religion. So, what did Thomas Jefferson mean when he said a wall of separation? See, Jefferson saw the First Amendment as, protecting citizens from government interference in religion. And also, he saw it as, preventing the government from favoring or establishing an official religion. And this then would allow the First Amendment to ensure religious freedom for everyone, including those of minority faiths. And we're talking about, the non-mainstream faiths as well. So the wall of separation that Jefferson's talking about, it meant keeping government and religious institutions separate to protect them both. Okay. Now, was what Thomas Jefferson said legally binding? Well, the letter itself was not a law or official government policy or an executive order, but it was a private letter expressing Jefferson's interpretation. However, it does become a highly influential document in debates about the First Amendment and religious freedom in the United States. So, does the letter have any impact on U.S. law? Well, Jefferson's phrase would later influence Supreme Court decisions, that interpreted the First Amendment. If we look at, for example, Jefferson v. Board of Education, this was from 1947. Okay, so Justice Hugo Black on the Supreme Court cited Jefferson's wall of separation in the court's opinion, which established that the First Amendment applied to state governments from the First Amendment through the 14th Amendment. And so that the phrase separation or wall of separation has been cited in numerous cases involving things like school prayer, public funding of religious schools, and religious displays on public property. So it's important to remember here that while the federal government was restricted from establishing religion, many states had official religions or religious tests for office in the very early years of the United States. And over time, Jefferson's vision of broader religious freedom and separation of church and state became more widely accepted. So, when it came to personal beliefs, Jefferson was best described as a deist. He would have believed in a creator, but he was skeptical of organized religion. He supported religious freedom for everyone, including Jews and Muslims, and those with no religion. But Jefferson's focus was protecting individual conscience from government intrusion. Right? Like I said, he believed that it was a matter of personal conscience without government interference. So why does the Danbury letter still matter today? Well, Jefferson's letter reminds us that religious freedom is a core American value, that we're reminded that protecting the separation of church and state helps preserve both freedom of religion and freedom from religious coercion. And the letter also reminds us that these principles remain relevant in today's debates about religion in schools, public spaces, and in government. So, Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists turned the First Amendment's promise into a powerful image, a wall that separated church and state. And this wall protects religious freedom and remains a guiding principle in America today. Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptists and his phrase, wall of separation between church and state, have helped shape American views on religious liberty and also the First Amendment. If what I've covered here tonight has piqued an interest, caught your attention, maybe taught you something a little, like, comment, follow, share, I'd really appreciate those things. And I'll continue to create more things that you should know by being alive. And like for this one here, because understanding our rights helps us protect them. Thanks for watching.